Jive Hive Jeff, guess what? 150 Speed Shop, Mike's shop in Leroy, Illinois. It's going to be another how-to video. We tore apart the engine on Project Thumper. It's a Gen 4 LS 5.3. And in the last video, as you saw, we went ahead and just showed a tutorial on how to measure chamber volume. Well, as we did that and finished up, we noticed that the valves were leaking. And we'd already knew that we were going to rebuild these anyway and stuff like that. So these heads are going to have to come apart. So tonight for Project Thumper, what Two Hacks Garage is going to do is we're going to show you how to disassemble cylinder heads. It's a pretty easy method. All we're going to do is remove the valves so we can get these cleaned up. Probably do a little bit further inspection to make sure everything else is okay. Now mind you, with this project, our thought is that we're going to reuse the actual valves if they're straight and if they're not burnt. So I do have a method I'm going to show you here in a second on how to make sure to keep the valves together with the cylinders that they came out of. As far as that goes, anything else like the springs and the keepers, we are going to set those aside. I already know that we're not going to use the valve springs because we're going to go with an aftermarket Texas Speed cam and we're going to match the appropriate springs with that cam. So what am I going to do tonight? Well, we're going to show you how to disassemble them using products that I purchased from JEGS. Like in the last video, showing you the cylinder head stands that I got, very budget friendly, very easy to use. You're also going to need a set of safety glasses because there is stuff under pressure and you got to make sure you save your eyes. So make sure you have your safety glasses. Plastic tub, pick those up for a couple bucks at a dollar store. You could use cardboard box, whatever, but springs and retainers, I'm going to go ahead and throw it in there. And here is a valve spring tool that I got from JEGS. It is not a super high-end brand one. It was extremely affordable. And I'm going to show you guys how to use this. Basically, this compresses the spring so you can take out the retainers on there and remove the valve safely. So you know what, guys, with that, we're going to go ahead and just give you a tutorial on how to do that, show you how easy it is, and show you how budget friendly it is. Every dollar you save is a dollar you can either keep or put into another project or put in the current one you're using. With that, I'll catch you in a few. Later. All right, so basically the first step to do is to set up your heads on the cylinder stand. I realize there's a lot of different ways for this, and you can actually have it this way. So when you're removing everything, the spring or the valves are facing down. However, I'm going to go up with it. A couple reasons being is I want the valves to stay in here because I'm going to reuse them. I just don't want them to fall. And when I'm taking the keepers out down here with everything, the spring itself is just going to fall. I'm not going to reuse those. So how this works is actually pretty simple. This tool itself here, if you look, this goes to the valve face and this goes to the actual spring side, and it's adjustable for the size diameter of the valve and the keeper itself. So let me show you real quick what I'm talking about here. And I'll end up showing you another, once I get it set up, how that looks. I've already done one just to get the tool set up. But if you look down here, right on there, that part right there will sit up in here and encapsulate that. And then that other part clamps down on the valve. Now, there is an adjustment to this. You'll have to play around with it to find that nice fine area. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through on what I do. And now, mind you, the heads, we do know which side they are, and we are going to potentially reuse these valves. So what I have here, like I showed earlier, is a nice little board. You can actually buy these. I made one out of cardboard and some extra styrofoam and labeled everything. And I'll put the valves in the appropriate location. So this is a good thing to have. Now, mind you, once we get these out, and if they are okay and they're straight, we will end up cleaning them and lapping them and make sure everything's good. So what I do is I take this tool here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on that cup on the retainer over the spring, and this part here, this tool is new, so it's a little tight. So I'm going to put it on the cup, make sure it's good. And mind you, I am wearing safety goggles. I'm going to put it on there, just like that. And make sure it's over the keeper on the bottom. On the retainer. And I'm going to pump this thing down. Might have to back it off a little bit. Like I said, there is fine adjustments with this. You can actually get it centered on there, and this is adjustable here because you're going to use this for leverage right there. So I have it clamped in place. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So if you look right underneath there, you can see how it's actually over the valve spring and the retainer itself. And the whole goal is to compress this so you can get your valve keepers out. And those keepers hold everything in place. And what really helps with that is a nice little pin magnet. So I'm going to go ahead and get to work. I'll show you what I got going on. Like I said, there are multiple ways to do it. This is just one method. So I'm going to basically, I'm going to call this fine tuning it. All I'm doing is compressing that down to get a little bit of leverage on here and get that to actually pop. And what you want to do, kind of your first step, is you want to take a rubber mallet and hit all of your valve springs. And that just helps loosen everything up. You know what, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and show that real quick, what I mean. I should have done that first, but I do want to show you how that's done. So, I know I'm kind of out of order here. I apologize. So what you do is you take a nice little mallet, thank you Mike, like this. You got a rubber end. You just want to make sure it's off. And you go by here. And you whack all those. That helps free everything up when you go to take this apart. And then you just go set everything back up. And basically we're going to use 2 holes here. See if I can do this. Without them falling out. My arm would get out of the way. All right, so now that I got it set back up, popped all the valve springs, kind of loosened some stuff up. Like I said, I already did this one up when I was setting up the tool. So I'm going to take this valve out. Now this is the intake valve. If you don't know which ones are which, you just follow which port they go to. You can see it. This is intake side. This one here is exhaust side. Normally, your intake valve is larger than your exhaust valve. So I went ahead and put that away. And now I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing. Put it back on there. I am just clamping this down. Actually, I had this set for the intake side. I did find it on this tool, it's a little easier to run this down a little bit. This lever, there we go. Really want as much leverage as you can on these because you know those springs are pretty high pressure. In most cases, the spring tension on a roller cam is much more than a flat tappet cam. Get that centered on the valve, start tightening down. And I'm doing this so I can actually see the keeper starting to come through. And you do want this tool pretty much centered on the valve. getting there. All right, so these valves have been on here for a while, a little sticky. Just did some adjustments, and I'm going to pop this thing down, and I'm going to take a look to see if the keepers are poking out, and they are. So I'll show you what that looks like. The keepers are what holds the valve stand against the retainer. So now that they're out, one just fell out, you can come up in here and get your keepers out. Sometimes they get a little stuck and a pick will help. There they go. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to decompress that spring to get these out. That holds the valve and the spring together. So from there, I'll put this back on the tripod. Thanks, Mike. This is kind of a realistic, Mike gave me some good advice on this. This is kind of a realistic review of this tool. I've never used this one. It's brand new. I've used many like it. Jimmy's got a super nice one that I absolutely like to use. What you're going to see now is the spring and retainer come out. So there's a good view. You're clamping over that to compress everything to get that keeper out. We're going to save this, put it in the tray. Spring, we're not reusing. We're going to put it in a box just so we're not disorganized. And from there, go from the bottom, pull your valve out. We'll do some inspection on these later. And then if you look over on this side here, I have this nice and labeled. I'm going to put it where it needs to go. So I'm going to show you guys one more kind of real live part on this, and then when you get through this cylinder head, Mike's going to show you an alternative method on how to remove them too. With that, I'm going to get to work. I'm going to do one more live one, and then we'll just put it on time lapse, get this cylinder head done. Like I said, there's different methods to do this. I'm doing it upside down for a reason tonight. Did you hear that pop? That's that spring and everything separating. So now, those aren't 100% out. Mind you, I am wearing safety glasses. There those retainers go. So I got the retainers out. So now the tool itself is pretty much set. There's fine adjustments with this on clamping pressure. I'm going to pull this out. Since I'm already here, I can actually just go to the next one. Up there goes the spring. And I got the retainer right here. Pull that out, put it away. Butterfingers tonight. Like I said before, wear safety goggles, especially if you're doing it with this the other way. You do not want to take to those one of the face or the eyes. Definitely not fun. Retainer came out. Save that. Spring goes away. Valves come out. Go to their appropriate location. So with that, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put it on time lapse and get ripping. tell you about it in a second. All right, so I did a cylinder head with this tool here. It's new. I've never used it before. It's not bad. I know I'm doing it kind of an unconventional way, but there's a reason why I'm doing that, which I explained earlier. It's not bad, but this lever here is really tight. There's really no way to adjust it. Other than that, once you get this portion of it fine-tuned, it went much quicker. I also did notice this piece here probably needs a little bit more adjustment too. But overall, if you're a guy that's not doing this a whole lot and you're just doing it in your garage, you can make it work and you'll just be fine. Like I said, one of the biggest tools that you're going to need out of this, safety glasses. Don't want to get whacked in the face. With that, Mike has got a tool that's really cool. So this video is kind of turning into a comparison. So while he gets that set up, I'm going to take a quick 5 and we'll see what he's got going on and we'll do a comparison. See you in a few.
All right, guys, this is another option here. This is an option that I use fairly religiously when the heads are still on the vehicle. So what is required to do that, you need a cylinder leak down tester that you can actually inject shop air in to keep the valves from dropping down into the pistons. This device, you can get them from many different people, all the big name tool companies. You can get them on Amazon, eBay. They're all very similar. This is a dual spring combination. I've used a single. It's a little bit more time consuming. I like the dual. So we're going to actually bolt this into where your trunnion rockers go in, and it is going to react and push both at the same time. We don't need the shop air because the head's on the bench, and I'll just have to put my hands on it. So just like Jeff did, step 1, give it a couple of whacks, and not too bad. You back your tool out of here, get it set. Once you get your setup going, it doesn't go too bad. Now there are 2 trunnions per, if you want to zoom in on here, Jeff. These are where your rocker arms generally bolt in. So by tightening up these bolts right here, that's your pivot point. And you can simply do them by hand. You don't have to get too carried away. Just snug them up. Now the other end of the tool is going to encapsulate all the keepers and the retainers, just like Jeff did with the other tool. We're going to run this guy down. I like to put a little bit of grease where all this stuff's going to pivot. Makes your tool last longer. I've broken a few in my days. And it isn't too difficult. So I've got a hand underneath both valves just in case they drop. But it is very effortless here. I'm going to run them down in. Safety glasses on. Push the valve up, grab the keepers, throw them in the tray, grab the other keepers, throw them in the tray. We're going to back them out, and it's got a nice little safety here. You don't have to worry so much about a spring going flying on this case. But once she's loose, take those guys out. A lot of times I got a gun going, but we're recording, so don't need all that noise. A little bit quicker. And we're going to set this off to the side for the next batch. Now just like Jeff said, we only want to keep these guys. We're going to throw them in the tray. Springs go in the box. Valve comes out. I'm on the exhaust valve, and now we've switched cylinder heads. So we're going to do some inspections later. So I'm going to look and reference. This is the front cylinder on the passenger side. Exhaust valve. Intake valve on the same one. Quick glance. That's one done.
What we're going to do is we're going to watch him do one more of these in kind of real-time motion, and we'll just time-lapse the rest.
Might need a little more on that one. Exhaust and intake. And again, this can be done in the car. A quick little fitting with a spark plug out. You have regulated shop air to keep those valves closed, and if you had to do a spring or even a valve stem seal in the car, you're done.
All right, well, there was two different methods there on how to remove valve springs, valves, retainers, and keepers. I used a new tool that I got from JEGS. Like I said, for a guy that's doing it occasionally at his home, in his garage, or whatever, worked fine. I had to use it a certain way because what I was doing, there's multiple ways on how to do it. Mike then had his really nice tool that is on the engine style, but without the air check to hold the valves in there. And as you saw, that one went very, very, very quick, and it was easy, it was clean, and it wasn't clunky. I'm gonna give my 2 cents on it. I actually preferred the one Mike had. It went much quicker, it was easier, but you know what? There's a price you pay for tools like that, and I know the one I got from JEGS was extremely cheap, but then again, it was kind of clunky. The setup on it was wishy-washy, took a little bit more time, and overall, the quality of it, I would say it was so-so. If it was me, I would definitely spend the extra money and get the tool like Mike had. But this tutorial really wasn't on that. It was just showing both methods on how to use this and on the car versus a C-clamp style. And you know what, guys? I was pretty happy with both. Either way you go, you know what? You do a few of them, you're going to get better with that tool. And I did notice too, you could actually take that tool and modify it to get a little bit more leverage on that, anything you'd like to do. But overall, successful night. Got these heads tore down. We got to inspect the valves. We're going to have to inspect the seats on these and everything else. But tonight's goal was just to show you just different methods of that and go from there. What I do want to show you though, real quick, is Mike on one of his 706s, he's already got it taken apart. He started doing some inspections on the valve seats, and he's got it all cleaned up. And really how he cleaned this up wasn't a vapor blast, wasn't anything like that. Believe it or not, guys, that's pretty flawless. That was super clean. He went over there and soaked it, sprayed it, soaked it, a little bit of scrubbing, turned out very well. I'll show you what we're working with. Here's a 243 head. As you can see, that's nice, oily, greasy. Look at all that carbon deposits in there. That's pretty nasty stuff. So you know what? When 2X Garage says super clean works pretty well, we're not lying. Actually works really great. Saves you some money from having to take it somewhere to get taken care of, cleaned. So yeah, successful night. Showed you two different methods on how we remove valves and springs. You guys can make your own decision on that. Also showed you how well these things clean up. So with that, guys, we still have a whole lot more work to do. We got a whole lot more stuff coming along on this engine. So with that, we'll see you soon. Later.